In a world of chaos, war, and constant conflict, one man dreamed of something radical: harmony. Not power, not conquest, but balance between people, families, and nations. His name was Confucius, and 2.5 millennia later, his ideas still echo across classrooms, governments, and quiet moments of reflection. But here's the mystery. Was his vision of harmony merely a moral guide, or a survival code for humanity itself? Part 1. The man who sought order in a world of chaos. Confucius was born in 551 BCE, during one of China's darkest ages, the Spring and Autumn period. A time when warlords fought endlessly, kingdoms rose and fell, and honor meant little against greed and ambition. In this storm of betrayal, Confucius wasn't a warrior. He was a teacher, armed not with a sword, but with ideas. Ideas that could, he believed, rebuild civilization itself. His question was profound. What makes a society stable when human desire and ego constantly tear it apart? And his answer wasn't force, it was harmony. But not the simple kind, not the let's all get along version we use today. To Confucius, harmony was an intricate system, a code of ethics, rituals, and relationships, all built to keep human chaos under control. Part 2. The hidden code of harmony. At the heart of Confucius's philosophy lies two great forces: Ren, humaneness, compassion, empathy, and Li, ritual, propriety, the structure that holds society together. If Ren is the soul of humanity, Li is its skeleton. One without the other collapses into either anarchy or rigidity. Confucius believed every human being has an inner spark of Ren, the capacity for goodness. But without Li, rules, traditions, and moral habits, that spark could turn into chaos. So he designed a living system, from how rulers govern, to how children treat their parents, to how friends speak to one another. Every action, every gesture was a ritual reinforcing harmony. It wasn't about oppression. It was about alignment. Each person knew their role, their duty, their virtue. And when those aligned, Confucius said, the world will be well governed. Part 3. The 5 relationships, a blueprint for society. To Confucius, harmony started with relationships, not abstract laws or divine commands. He mapped society into 5 key bonds: ruler and subject, father and son, husband and wife, elder and younger, friend and friend. Each relationship carried mutual responsibility. The ruler must be just, the subject loyal, the father kind, the son respectful, the elder wise, the younger obedient. It was a network of reciprocal harmony, where virtue flowed down and respect flowed up. Critics might call it hierarchical, but to Confucius, it was organic, like parts of the human body, each role vital, each dependent on the other. When these bonds broke down, when greed replaced virtue, society decayed. And to restore harmony, people didn't need revolution, they needed education. Part 4. The power of virtue over law. In his time, most rulers maintained order through punishment and fear, but Confucius offered a radical alternative. He said, if you govern with laws and punishments, the people will avoid wrongdoing, but have no sense of shame. If you govern with virtue and ritual, they will develop a conscience and reform themselves. To him, morality wasn't enforced from above, it grew from within. Because only when a leader was virtuous could his subjects reflect that virtue back. In other words, harmony began not with systems, but with character. That's why Confucius focused on the concept of the junzi, the gentleman, or the noble person. Not noble by birth, but by action. The junzi was self-disciplined, humble, compassionate, and just. He sought to improve himself before criticizing others. He served society not out of ambition, but out of duty. Imagine that. Leadership through example, not authority. For Confucius, the world could only heal when its leaders became moral models. Part 5. The Cosmic Harmony, Heaven and Humanity. But Confucius's code didn't stop at human relations, it reached the cosmos. He believed in a concept called Tian, heaven, not as a deity, but as a moral order of the universe. When humans lived in accordance with Ren and Li, they were in tune with heaven's rhythm. When they strayed, disorder followed, droughts, wars, social decay. So harmony wasn't just about peace on earth. It was a universal balance. Humans were part of a grand pattern, a living moral system. Confucius never claimed to know heaven's will, but he believed we could align with it through virtue, reflection, and respect. That's why he saw music and ritual as sacred. They weren't just traditions, they were ways to tune the human soul back to cosmic order. He said, "To learn music is to learn harmony. To learn ritual is to learn order." Harmony wasn't passive, it was discipline, a daily act of moral tuning. Part 6. The Survival of Civilization. Confucius never saw his dream fulfilled. He died poor, his teachings largely ignored by the warlords of his time. But centuries later, China rediscovered his ideas and built one of the longest continuous civilizations on earth around them. The Han Dynasty made Confucianism its state philosophy. Education, meritocracy, respect for elders, family hierarchy, all became pillars of Chinese identity. Even when empires collapsed, these moral foundations kept society from disintegrating completely. It's why, despite endless wars, China's culture endured. Its values held the fragments together. Some historians say that was Confucius's true genius. He gave society not just rules, but resilience. Harmony then wasn't weakness. It was stability through balance. Part 7. The Modern Echo. Does harmony still matter? Fast forward 2,500 years, and Confucius' world feels both distant and eerily familiar. We have more technology, more freedom, more power than ever, but also more division, outrage, and alienation. So the question returns, was Confucius's code more than a philosophy? Was it a blueprint for human survival? Because his insights weren't about ancient rituals, they were about human nature. He understood our need for connection, our craving for respect, and our fear of chaos. He warned that when personal desire overrides duty, when power replaces virtue, society collapses, not with a bang, but with erosion. And today, as trust in institutions fades, his words feel prophetic. When the way is lost, ritual appears. When ritual is lost, loyalty and faith appear. When loyalty and faith are lost, chaos arises. Maybe harmony wasn't just moral advice. It was an evolutionary strategy, a way to prevent our species from destroying itself. Part 8. The Criticisms. Is harmony too idealistic? Of course, not everyone agrees. Critics say Confucianism can promote conformity, patriarchy, and blind obedience to authority. They argue that harmony sometimes silences necessary conflict, that progress requires tension. And there's truth in that. Harmony, taken to extremes, can suffocate creativity or dissent. But Confucius never meant harmony as uniformity. He meant it as balance through difference. In one of his most misunderstood quotes, he said, "The noble man seeks harmony, not sameness." In other words, true harmony isn't everyone agreeing. It's everyone coexisting without chaos. So maybe the hidden code of Confucius wasn't submission, but symmetry. A vision of humanity as an orchestra, many instruments, one melody. Part 9. The Legacy, the silent philosopher who shaped a continent. Even today, Confucius's fingerprints cover Asian culture, from family structure to governance to education. His thought influenced Japan's samurai ethics, Korea's social systems, and Vietnam's civil institutions. And globally, his emphasis on virtue and learning inspired philosophers like Voltaire, Kant, and even modern humanists. He became the teacher of teachers, not through dogma, but through dialogue. Because for Confucius, knowledge was never about answers. It was about cultivating the mind. He said, "To learn and not think is a waste. To think and not learn is dangerous." That might be the key to why his wisdom still breathes today. It adapts. It lives in the space between reason and empathy, order and freedom. Part X, the final reflection, the harmony within. So what was Confucius's hidden code? Maybe it wasn't written in scrolls, but in the rhythm of life itself. He taught that harmony begins in the heart, in how we speak, how we listen, how we treat one another. He didn't offer miracles, just habits, small acts of respect that ripple outward to shape civilizations. And maybe that's the true secret. Human survival doesn't depend on power or technology, but on the delicate art of living in balance. Because as Confucius said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." If you found this exploration insightful, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and human nature. Because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.